What's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? And welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. Welcome to episode 581, if you can believe it. We're talking about Week 8 versus the LA Rams, primetime Thursday night football match that happened a few days ago. If you watched that game, we got some stuff to talk about. The boys are here. Adam Carlson, how are you, sir?
Doing all right. Petting this cat right here. He seems to like that.
Bernie Cat, thank you for joining us again. Kyle West is here with a new backdrop. Tell us about it. Looks awesome, dude.
I am here. This is I don't know why I've never thought of recording right here since I set this place up, but this is my wall and general area of Vikings memorabilia and stuff. Really nice to have it like all together in one spot finally after all these years of having it hodgepodged and in storage and in totes. So I thought it would be fun to spruce it up a little bit.
Looks good. Went down. I got most of them right. I couldn't see the number for the Chuck Foreman, but what I see is Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Adrian Peterson, Chuck Foreman. There's a Favre behind your other ear.
If I go this way, there's Brett Favre.
Very nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I like the backdrop.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, so I have to be honest. Man, this game really made me upset. I think the Vikings defense is exposed. And the sad thing about it is to start off 5-0, clearly shot above anyone's expectations except for the team itself. I'm sure they thought they were good enough. But in a matter of 5 days, the Vikings dropped 2 games. One to the Detroit Lions, which I kind of feel like they're the best team in the NFL. I don't care what the Chiefs' record is. I think Detroit might win the Super Bowl this year as it sits right now, about halfway through the season. But we collectively as a team, the Vikings are better than the LA Rams over and under just about everywhere, give or take a position or two. And because they couldn't adjust and because this defense just can only do one thing and just can't figure it out, I think the defense is exposed, and it's very concerning. They lost the game 30-20. Sam Darnold had an efficient game. He's 18 for 25, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Overall rating higher than Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford had a nice day, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Man, that defense just couldn't adjust. Now, we can make excuses saying Blake Cashman's not in, whatever. Dallas Turner didn't see a lot of time. But overall, if you're going to blitz this much, you're going to pay for it against teams with that, one, can throw the ball anywhere. Matt Stafford might be past his prime, but he's still very good. And 2, that offensive line I thought would be the weakness. All their backups played great against a great pass rush. And I saw from what the announcers were saying, and if you guys noticed, they tried to get Andrew Van Ginkel out of the equation because he's been such a disruptor this year and leave it to everybody else. I think that's the formula.
Hey, like forward. If you're going to – what does Bill Belichick always talk about when he talks about coaching is taking away the team's best player on offense and defense. And if you're going to single in on one guy on defense to take away and take out of the equation for the Vikings, it's Andrew Van Ginkel, who has kind of been the premier playmaker out there on defense right now. Like you said, Smith, the first loss that they took to Detroit is legit, and I'm not super worried about that one. Yeah, it sucks. It's in division. They're one of the top 2 or 3 best teams in the NFL. And I don't want to take anything away from the Rams, but it is an aging Matthew Stafford. It is a team that hasn't looked maybe their best at points in this season. This was a game that I felt that the Vikings honestly should have won if their expectations are as high as what fans and pundits in the media want to say. So to come out and to lose, it's disheartening. Fire Breather in the chat was talking about not being ready for the 2016 season. I don't think that big of a slide is coming for the Vikings. Like, I don't think they're going to lose the next 6 games in a row. I do believe that there's talent out there, but you are right. They have been exposed a little bit on offense and a little bit on defense. In terms of Sam Darnold, what have you said all the time, Smith? You kind of got to throw out the best performance and the worst performance, and the reality is somewhere in the middle. He got off to a really hot start. And the question was always, can you sustain it with him? The answer a little bit is no. We're coming back down to reality just a little bit with Sam Darnold. I'm really curious to see how he plays for the duration of the season, especially with the injuries on offensive line from Minnesota that are now starting to mount up and pile up for the team.
Entering this game, I think a lot of people were really looking at the Rams' 2-4 record and saying, this is not a good football team. And do you know what? They are a good football team. They didn't have Puka Nacua. They didn't have Cooper Kupp. Kyron Williams is carrying that team to those 2 wins out of those 6 games. And he kept carrying even though Kupp and Nacua came back. And that offense is absolutely scary. And I think people are going to realize that as this goes on now, when all those guys are available, this team is dangerous.
I would agree. I still think overall the Vikings have a better team, but it's tough. We haven't mentioned the worst news of the game, and that's not even the face mask that we're going to spend a lot of time on. Christian Darrisaw is out for the season.
Well, I think that's the worst news. I think the Darrisaw injury is really going to hurt this team down the stretch. You're going to put, Sam Darnold has had pretty decent protection so far, and you're going to put him now in a situation where he's going to have more pressure in his face, and I think that's going to lead to potentially him reverting to some of his bad tendencies that you can try to coach out as much as you want, but when you got a big old defensive lineman coming at you, like he could revert back to some of his ways that you'd hoped he was past.
So what would you guys' plan be for left tackle at the moment?
I just quit.
I was going to say something similar. Just pray a lot. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the coaches. I don't know who is a viable option. And this is what I'm going to say sounds very shitty,
right?
Yeah, when he went down, Questenberry came in, but with Dalton Reisner getting activated on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, he could slide in at left guard and they could try to move Blake Brandel over and see how that works too. I mean, there are options for this offensive line. There are free agents out there.
I think it's some
options. So, I mean,
I think it's some combination of that, Adam. I believe they're going to try in-house with, like you said, with Dalton Reisner coming back. You slot him into guard, whether you're kicking Questenberry or someone else out there to that tackle position. That's probably where you try first. You give it a game. If it don't work, you go out of the Vikings organization and see who you can pick up.
Because I absolutely love Questenberry. I love his story, how he came back to the NFL and is trying his best and has been playing pretty well. But I don't know if he's ready to be a starting tackle again in the NFL yet.
Right.
But I do love his story and I do root for him to succeed. So I'm hoping he can be that guy.
So Jake and Firebreather both mentioned linemen. Firebreather said we need DT help. Jake said get some linemen before the trade deadline. My question to you guys, and I'm saying this in a way not to be snarky. I genuinely am asking, what are you giving up? Because I'm not giving up the first round pick next year. You need that. What are you going to get for a 5th round next year? You have 2 of those. So you're going to have to give up something in 2026, most probably, I would guess, unless you're giving up the first for 2025.
Free number 3.
What's that?
Free number 3.
I just don't like. I don't see anyone out there like. And here's a shitty spot, guys. This team is just competitive enough where if they add a piece or 2, it might help them sustain, and they kind of need it. I think personally, you have 3 positions you need to look at. Corner, defensive tackle, and you could always have a better offensive line. You can try. I don't know if they would address all 3. I highly doubt all 3 will get met. I don't know what the importance is. I would guess with Darrisaw going down, probably they have to at least have the conversation. But I don't know. I want so bad the sexy pick of a defensive tackle, but think about it. Harrison Phillips is doing a fine job. He's having a great year. That's fine. What I don't like is Blake Cashman goes out for a couple games, and then the defense looks like shit. Also, I don't like that you got a 15th overall pick in Dallas Turner, and he plays, 4 snaps during the game? I think that something has to be said there.
At least he's playing. We've had other first round picks who didn't play.
You know what, Kyle? That's very true.
That and Van Ginkel has been having an amazing season, as
Correct.
has Johnson. So I mean, I don't know what you really can do. Do you just run NASCAR packages, or how would you get Turner on the field more often?
Michael says Addison wants to be traded. He does not. If you go back to his draft day, I don't know if you remember, he wore a pink blazer and his chain said free 3. This is such a media spun social media thing. I can see how you would think that based on what the context. It's a little digsy, but he's been saying that for a while. I'm not worried about it.
I had brought it up in the group chat, and we might as well bring it up now for everyone that's listening to give us their thoughts on it too. I personally am not signing Jordan Addison to a long-term contract in Minnesota. I'm not doing it. He's a talented player on the field, but there's a headache. There's a future headache coming on with this kid, whether or not you pay him or you don't pay him. I don't know. So if you in all of these scenarios where we're talking about trading, what are you giving up to trade, to bring in another player? I'm not parting with that first round pick next year, but Jordan Addison, I might listen to an offer. You might entice me a little bit. Like, what are you giving me back in return?
I don't think that phone call would do that at all, but I understand where you're coming from. I get it.
Yeah, after Addison's year last year, he would be tough to move on from. Well, it's tough. I don't know. I know this season hasn't been as good as last season for him statistically, but he is a player that they do rely on, especially when Justin Jefferson isn't available. So I don't know if he can just move on.
That's my first thought is if Justin Jefferson goes down and you trade Jordan Addison, this offense is fucked. There's no chance. You can say you're going to run the ball with Aaron Jones and you're going to dump it off to Jalen Naylor and TJ Hawkinson, but Justin Jefferson is kind of the centerpiece. And let's go back to the point up here. Firebird this, I think Sam needs to distribute the ball. True, but here's the flip side. This is why. You pay Justin Jefferson $35 million a year and he doesn't have a 100-yard receiving game, he's going to start talking like he did. Luckily, this game, he had 115 yards, 8 of 9. No touchdown, but still got the ball. Yes, I think Darnold was predetermining he was going to get Justin Jefferson the ball after these comments, which is an old school NFL quarterback move. It's like, hell yeah, I'm going to get Randy Moss and the Patriots. Tom Brady's like, I'm going to get my first 3 passes to Randy Moss just to get him going. Like, I get it. But you're right. You've got to distribute better. I want to see more of the first couple of weeks of Sam Darnold going through as the season progresses.
And by the way, congratulations to Justin Jefferson for moving into 5th all-time in Vikings receiving yards.
That's so fucking crazy.
Insane. When is Hawkins?
What the hell?
In such a short amount of time, too. You guys know when TJ Hawkinson is coming back? Because
he was activated on Friday, and he will be active next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minnesota Vikings, I believe this coming up game. Yeah, it's Sunday night against the Colts at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. I would suspect that he's
and that whole Colts thing right now is really messy. We don't know if we're going to get Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco.
I think Anthony Richardson lost the locker room.
It was really weird, that Anthony Richardson thing where did he go to the sideline with a panic attack during that game?
I've never seen a quarterback do that or admit to it. Like,
you don't admit to it. That's the biggest thing. Let your teammates chew your ass for that, but don't tell the media that.
Couldn't he went up to one of his coaches and, hey, this is what's going on? And couldn't they have just whisked him into that blue medical tent and have a playoff?
You don't really put that on display. I don't get it.
I don't get why they just left him. That's such an odd situation too.
I'll say what the comments said, because I tell you right now, in 2024, in October of 2024, anytime anything fucked up comes out on social media, I immediately click on the comments because they're funnier than some stand-up comedians that have been doing it for 30 years. It's hilarious, the general public and the savagery they say. But the funniest thing that I saw, because if you remember, just a few years ago, he came out of Florida. He's not very good at Florida, but he's got the big body. Physically, they're like, shit, man, we got to take a chance on him. He looks like Cam Newton physically. guy said, shocking, a guy who was shitty in college isn't good in the NFL. And I'm like, yeah, kinda. He's, everybody last year, it's always fools going. That's why you have to be so careful on injuries. Well, he was playing great till he got hurt. Yeah, but he's a rookie, and he got hurt 5 games into being a professional. Like, that's kind of foreshadowing. Now, like you guys said, go in the medical tent and be like, hey, I might have popped a rib, or I don't know, I'm feeling lightheaded and do that. But to just like tap out like that, Pat McAfee ripped him for this.
Or even it's okay to go to the side and tell your coaches, I need a moment, I'm struggling.
Yeah,
and then let them come up with something for you.
Mm-hmm.
But to come out and say that you are struggling mentally and you're having a panic attack or whatever,
which
we're not great.
I mean, we're not making fun of that.
No,
that happens
not at all.
To the best of us and all of us. So, like, I mean, if you've ever, I know you guys have been to US Bank Stadium. I don't know if you ever had a chance to like do the full tour or not. But when you get a moment to stand in the middle of the field and look up at just how big it is, and you imagine how loud that would be, playing in front of all those fans. Like, I get how that could cause anxiety in a player, no matter how great you are. So, like, I understand it, but the optics of that were not good the way it was handled by all parties.
I just
Is
think
it bad that I'm more
protocol.
afraid of Joe Flacco than I am of Anthony Richardson?
Oh, we should be.
You should
be. I believe it. And like you guys were saying, there's a protocol the way you do things. It's fine. There's a lot of handling it. This is a lot of stuff that I loved about the military. There's plenty of times where if the actual incident or the problem that was had between 2 people got out, they would both get in a lot of trouble. So it never happened. You go behind the building, you take your blouse off, and you fucking handle it like men. That's what we used to do. I'm not saying that they needed to fight over this, but the protocol being, hey, let's keep it like your coach is there to protect you. So if you come to him, he can yell at you behind closed doors to avoid the media. Like, especially for Pat McAfee, he's a cult legend, and he's got
Die Hard
show. And it's like, what? And they ripped him hard today. And it's like, I looked at the comments and like, that locker room is fucking done with him. Like, you can't. There's no chance. Because you got to think too. Like the first thing I thought of was a guy like Adam Thielen back in the day. He had to pay his way to get to be seen by like the lower regional level of NFL scouts. People are there that are fighting to get a paycheck to do what you do. They might not be as talented as you, but they're fighting to keep their roster spot because the average NFL career is 2 to 3 years. And you're just like, well, I was tired. Brother, everybody's tired. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's week 8. Everybody's hurt and everybody's tired. That's fucking football. But that's easy for me to say. I'm not a pro athlete. I'm not playing professional football. And that was very weird. And I think it just encapsulates the season, doesn't it? This is a weird NFL year, is it not?
It is an odd year.
It feels discombobulated like everywhere.
Is this also like the product of the newer generation of the NFL with the easier locker rooms and being more open and willing to discuss issues like this? Is this something we could see more of in the future?
To a percentage, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I try to run that line of like progress, but also keeping it tough. I do come from a fucking military background. So that shit, when I heard it, I was like, bro, you get paid how much? That's my first instinct, right? Okay, you want to be open. You want to be able to talk about stuff. I don't like it when people just scream at me for no reason either. But also, don't be surprised when the internet, everybody fucking chews your ass for that. Like, that's what comes with it. If you want to be transparent, and nobody's going to sit back and be like, no, it's fine. There are going to be people that are going to give you shit for that. So it's a double-edged sword. How can you tune it out? My fear would be if I was a Colts fan or, in the building or whatever, to be like, how bad does that bruise, the relationship with everyone else? Because like I said, there's how many other guys that are fighting through injuries, but it's a delicate line, man. It's a tough situation.
And the number of experts and analysts coming out and being like, oh, this kid's soft. He's not going to be anything big. And it's like, is it really soft to admit that you're overwhelmed and need a moment? I don't think that's a terrible thing, but on the football field, it's definitely not something that you can
There's a different way
football
to do
games with.
Right. I think there's a different way to do it, a different way to handle it. But I certainly would never tell a 6'5", 235-pound dude, you're soft. Like, of course not. Like, he's a pro athlete. He'll make millions of dollars. Like, I couldn't even be in the same stratosphere when it comes to football, when it comes to this side. It's most of us. But it was just weird to hear, because you don't ever hear that. Like,
that was a new one by me.
You never hear about that. But
like you guys said, to bring it back to the Vikings, is it going to be Joe Flacco?
I think
Getting the start next week.
Why not? I think he gives them a better chance.
And the Colts are being really secretive about what's going on there. They are holding it really close to their chest, and of course, this game isn't going to happen until Sunday night now. So, I mean, it's going to be a while before we know anything.
So, do you think Flacco is going to be able to stand in the pocket and pick apart the Vikings defense?
Just got to have a line that'll block for him. We saw that Thursday. The fucking defense can't get home. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
I also do think that when people were talking about this Rams game, people were overlooking that, the Vikings' current head coach is the former protege of the Rams head coach, and there's a lot of overlapping there and a lot of stuff that's going on. And I mean, that game on paper, it looked like, okay, Minnesota should clean their clocks, but once you start digging a little deeper, it was a really tough matchup, and I was hoping Minnesota would be able to get out of there with the win, but I guess that wasn't in the cards, I guess.
Well, before we dissect losing the second best player on the team and all that, we're about 20 minutes in. Let's give away game balls and donkeys. Oh, God. I don't really know. I was so irritated with this game. I didn't really want to.
I didn't even pick out a game ball.
I couldn't really, truthfully, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'll take the easy fruit here because he's still perfect on the year. Will Reichard, thank you for doing your job and not being a drama for this team. I don't really have anything else. Sam Darnold was efficient. You could give to Justin Jefferson if you wanted, but
Justin Jefferson's always good.
Irritated beyond belief through this game. So Will Reichard is my safe game ball for the week.
I'm going to give mine to Ivan Pace, which he led the team with 13 tackles, and when the running back was leaking through the trenches, he was one of the only guys that was consistently there to make a stop. He had 7 solo tackles on the day, and Minnesota only got 2 hits on Matthew Stafford all game, and Ivan Pace had one of those. So, I mean, he was one of the only guys on defense that was really doing things.
Byron Murphy stepped up, got himself the interception for that game. So there you go. That's always a nice, fun stat. I'll give him a game ball for that. You get the INT, you get the game ball.
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit for the donkey, too. Brian Flores.
The referees.
Fix this fucking defense now. Fix it. This happened last year, and I thought, okay, you don't have the pieces, whatever. Maybe a second year. We got off to a slow start. Remember, the Vikings started out 0-3. Right about week 5, that defense started to turn on for about half the season, and then the second or the third 1/3 of the season, the last third of the season, the defense was like, shit, they're not that good again. Like, what happened? Don't need that right now. Need you guys to start picking up speed, not slowing down. Brian Flores, not your best outing. And I think I don't pay for PFF because I refuse. But week 1 to 5, Vikings defense was like top 5, and they're bottom 5 the last 5 days. The last week now, last 2 games.
I want to say against the Rams, Minnesota only had 5 pressures.
It's insane. It's crazy.
And when I look at that they only had 2 hits on Stafford, that is not what I've been seeing from the Vikings in the past. So
he's one of the last dudes you want to let sit there and like have a clean pocket. It's crazy. Yeah, it's fine.
I've already piled on him a little bit, but I already have given him some props too. And I love David Quessenberry's story and everything, but this was not a good showing for him. Once he was forced to come in, you could tell the noticeable difference between him and Christian Darrisaw at left tackle. And I hope that they can find an answer. And if it isn't Quessenberry or Brandel, I hope they find that whatever they have to do to get it. So that left tackle situation is going to be rough.
Yay, we suck again.
You're up, Wes.
Yeah. NFL officiating gets my donkey for the week. And before I get into the big rant that we all know is all coming, I'm going to say I really truthfully don't think the Vikings were going to drive down the field and win that football game.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you thought the referee honestly didn't see it.
No. However, just because I don't think they were going to win that game doesn't mean that that was any excusable, mistake, missed call. That was a big blown call. That was an obvious face mask. The referee was staring right at Sam Darnold. I believe there was even one on the other side.
There
were two. There were two in the frame. If you looked at both frames, one guy behind to watch the head go backward, like directly behind Sam Darnold, and then another in the back of the end zone to watch. And
what's frustrating about this is they have that system in place. What the hell is it called? Skynet? Not Skynet. That's Terminator. But it might as well be Skynet for the sake of this conversation.
Did you see the Rams defender after that happened, though? He got up and he was looking so guilty. He thought he got flagged.
He put his hands on his helmet like, shit.
He did.
About to be a flag. Yeah.
He did the, oh, fuck, I messed up thing.
And then he realized there was no flag, and he kind of got really confused.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with this. We just might as well go into the face mask rant. Here's two things. To your point, Kyle, I agree with you. I don't think the Vikings were going to win this game. It was probably a little stacked against. Although we have seen 3 passes this year where Sam Darnold's like behind the 20 in the end zone and just chucks it to Jefferson's like, fuck it, he's out there somewhere.
And we did see Washington Magic this week.
Yeah,
so who knows?
That's such a great shout out to the Bears, number 29, for absolutely ruining that game for them. But I mean, they flipped the field a few times on big plays. We've seen in flashes earlier in those 5 wins why Sam Darnold was number 3 overall. You're like, holy shit, man, he's got an arm. But to not have the opportunity is my biggest complaint. You should be able to afford someone the opportunity. This reminded me a lot of that 2016 season, Dak Prescott's rookie year. They come to Minnesota. There's a blatant face mask on Sam Bradford, and they just don't fucking call it. Here's my deal. You have to make this a part of, well, you can't challenge anything within 2 minutes. Why?
Well, you should.
Why? For what reason? Why is that arbitrary rule there to say you can't challenge anything with 2 minutes left? Why? There's a blatant missed call that would have given it 15 yards, automatic 15 extra yards. This has to change. It has to change.
Like I was saying, you have that system in place. The fucking Skynet Terminator system, where someone can just call in and be like, "Hey, you missed that call." And I've always kind of understood the NFL's perspective from that. You don't want the nameless voice in the other room dictating the outcome of a game on the field. You want to leave it to the referees on the field.
Yeah, but when they don't do their fucking job.
But when it's in crystal clear 4K HD on your 75-inch television,
and you can
set
see it
home,
10 to 12 seconds after it just happened,
and everyone in the stadium is watching it on the Jumbotron, and the announcers are like face mask, and Twitter is like face mask.
And my biggest gripe to pile onto this is Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold can't say shit about it or they'll get fined, but these NFL referees just give you some jack-off bullshit answer about it, and it's like, I didn't see it. Okay, well, guess what? Now you don't get a game check next week because you're suspended for a game because the one job you have, you can't fucking do efficiently at the most crucial time. Like, hey, I need you to do this, and I need you to be on your game. It's like back when I was in the military. Hey, you're going to watch the front gate from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. There's one rule here. You don't fall asleep. If you fall asleep, someone may sneak onto the base and kill people, right? The referee gets caught sleeping and nothing fucking happens. There's no accountability for this, and that's the biggest gripe about it is not only because basically you're encouraging this again. If you're not going to make discipline the same from the players to the referees who make what Firebreather put it in like $200,000 a year, they have to be better than this. And the thing that makes me the most upset is, with your point, Kyle, this is 2024. We have all the technology in the world, not only to find a solution, there is a solution out there and it's fast, but they are refusing to be progressive about this. For what reason, I can't really understand, or it's going to be some arbitrary bullshit where they're like, we don't want to slow the game down. but you're going to let the quarterback get slammed by his face mask down on the fucking ground. Like, what are we doing here? You gotta.
I don't know if you guys are on X after or during games or after games, but Chandon Sullivan, I don't know if you remember when he was with the Vikings.
Yep.
He said, "Is this the same officiating crew that negated my 2 pick sixes in that one game?" And do you know what? Yes, it was. It absolutely was.
Imagine that. That was against the Colts, right?
I hate to kind of touch on this a little bit too, but I've seen the Vegas people being like, "Was this to ensure that the spread didn't pay off for the Minnesota Vikings on their plus 3.5 or whatever it was?" And sure, there's that conspiracy out there. I'm not quite in the whole NFL is fixed kind of thing yet, but I'm starting to listen to the arguments a little
I'll go there because the spread on this game was 49.5, and guess what the final score was because of that safety? 50 points. Tell me that's not fucking convenient, guys.
Guys, it's one of those things where you don't like. I don't really think that that's causing games to be fixed and predetermined, but it sure doesn't help when big calls like this get blown and it's obvious and you can see 2 referees staring right at it. And I know that the NFL, they like to protect the integrity of the game. That's something you'll hear Roger Goodell talk about all the time. The integrity of the game. And, it's called by officials on the field, and we want their judgment call to stand. And that's one of those statements that on paper sounds fantastic because, look, you remember back in high school football and college football, and that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it always should be because we are stubborn Americans. But when you really sit here and ask yourself, do you care if the call comes from an official on the field or an official in a booth all the way up here watching it, or an official in New York watching it on television? I don't care. I want the correct call. I don't care where the call comes from. Just get the correct one on the field.
I'm 100% in the part that where I won't say the NFL is completely scripted and fixed and rigged, but I will say I do agree because we have seen this since he came in the league. If that was Patrick Mahomes, that defender would have been crucified in Times Square 3 hours later. They would have put him on a jet and be like, "You will not touch these quarterbacks."
Suspended.
I get frustrated because the first thought in my mind is that why is it always the Vikings that have to be the catalyst for rule changes in the NFL?
Because God hates us, Kyle. That's why.
Why was it? I've got Peterson and Favre behind me right here. Why did it take the Vikings to get beat in the NFC Championship game against the Saints? And I know everything that happened beforehand. They should have done a better job to win that game, but it goes to overtime. The Saints march down the field. They kick a field goal, game over, and everyone goes, "Man, that would have been something to see Favre and the Vikings get the ball back." And that becomes the catalyst for changing the rules in the NFL the following offseason. This stupid face mask penalty feels like this is going to be the catalyst in the offseason where we're going to replay this 100 times over and over and over again. And we're going to make it to where you can challenge in 2 minutes, or Skynet can come in and overrule it, or whatever. Why is it always got to be us?
I mean, each referee unit does have 2 people that are in charge of reviewing and all that. So I mean, it's not like there aren't officials on the payroll watching those videos, watching the cameras, watching the screens in the background that can't call down and say, "Hey, you guys missed this."
Hey, it's always been weird to me that as fans, we're at home watching Fox Sports, and Dean Blandino can chime in, or whoever can chime in, and be like, "Yeah, I'm the rules expert, and here's why this is the correct call on the field, and here is 5 different angles of it, and here it is in slow motion, and you can all see that it's the correct field," and then it gets called wrong by the replay officiating crews. How come we have better technology at home as fans than apparently what the billion-dollar organization, the NFL, does on the field? Why can't they get these calls correct Or why can't they have a system in place to fix them in a timely fashion? It should not take as long as what it does, even when they go to replay to get these calls correct.
And the Vikings were very fortunate that Sam Darnold didn't suffer any kind of neck injury because of that, because he got his neck and head turned hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was an egregious face mask. That looked like it hurt.
All scoring plays are supposed to be reviewable. Unfortunately, can't flag on review. Yeah, there's a lot of just stupid stuff that I don't understand with some of these things.
I say all the time, the NFL, instead of worrying about narrowing goalposts in the offseason, that's something that's been floated around. I don't know if you guys have heard about that or not too. They want to narrow the goalposts on field goals.
Well, kickers have gotten a little too good.
Yeah, but come on. Before we start doing that, can't we go back and fix other issues with the game?
Justin put this up here earlier too. I say the refs should be held to press conference. I don't want a press conference. I just want them to get fined. I don't want to hear a word they have to say. I don't want to hear any fluffed excuse.
That referee did give a statement after the game, and it was a terrible statement. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
I didn't like it.
Dude, it was essentially, I didn't see it, fam. And he did the meme thing where he put his hands up. I'm serious. That was his statement.
Oh, that's funny. I'm over here previewing the Colts game. Let me go back and we'll read some stats. You guys mentioned it in the chat earlier about possibly getting more of the other players involved offensively. Sam Darnold was 18 for 25 this game. He had 2 touchdowns and no picks. So efficient game from Sam Darnold. Right now he has 14 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's doing all right this year. Rushing, 19 carries, 58 yards for Aaron Jones. Not his best game, but you can definitely see when he's on the field.
And you do notice that there is no Ty Chandler on that list.
No Ty Chandler on the rushing attempts at all.
But Crazy. In the receiving category, it is real interesting to look at the targets because it's Justin Jefferson and then at 9, and then the next person has 4, and it's not even really a competition of any kind.
Yep. Justin Jefferson, 9 targets, 8 catches. The next closest was Jalen Naylor, 2 out of 4. Addison had 3 targets for 2 catches, 22 yards. After 8 catches from Jefferson, everyone else got 2, and then 2 guys got 1. So
that's not a winning formula.
I know you want to feed the guy who's getting paid a bunch of money, but also maybe spread the ball around.
I mean, every catch that Trent Sherfield had was a touchdown, though.
That's funny. That's very funny, actually. Josh Oliver got a touchdown this game. Trent Sherfield 1 for 10. Johnny Munt 1 for 10. That's what I like to see. He's my favorite tight end 3 or 4 of all time. Minnesota defense. Adam alluded to it earlier. Ivan Pace Jr. is back. 13 total tackles, 7 solo, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit. Next closest was Harrison Smith. 8 total, 6 solo, 1 tackle for loss. No sacks on Matthew Stafford. Only 2 quarterback hits and 5 passes defended, which was really nice. A couple from Byron Murphy, Jonathan Gennard. For such a crazy
good game from Jerry Tillery this time.
Yuck.
He had a rough one.
I keep forgetting some of these guys on the team.
But good on Jalen Redmond for getting released, getting put in the practice squad, and then being brought back up, and now he's playing games again, so good for him.
Justin, to answer your question, yes, we did. I mentioned it earlier. You weren't in yet. So if you go back to Jordan Addison's draft night, he wore that pink blazer. He had a chain on that said free 3. I don't look too much into it. I will say the concerning thing, Kyle did make a kind of a hot take. Kyle doesn't want to sign him after his rookie deal, which is hilarious.
I'm not. You can find another Jordan Addison out there.
While I totally agree, I think we are about 2 years away from having that conversation, so I'll wait. But here's the thing I didn't like. While I understand to the sentiment of Adam saying earlier it's a new generation, people are more open and dialogue and feelings and mental health and stuff. it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Maybe I'm the old white guy boomer in the room that feels this way. I know I'm not the only one, but I'll be the one that's vocal about it. When a dude hasn't played an NFL down yet and he's like, I'm ready to get this money, it's like, well, are you ready to get this work? And then
But
what we
weren't
see
you also
from,
like pretty vocal about when Jordan Addison shared that photo of a container of alcohol after he had his DUI?
well, I didn't judge anything about that because I don't know what's in that. But I also getting to that point is you're all about, hey, I'm ready to get paid, but then you do two stupid things 2 off seasons in a row. So for a guy that wants to get his money, you sure are jeopardizing the shit out of that by making stupid decisions. Because at a minimum, I think next season he's going to get suspended. I don't know how long, but it's tough, man. Having a rookie year like he did, just under 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, he's a wide receiver 1 on the Carolina Panthers right now, easily.
So, to be fair, any of us could be a number 1 receiver on the Carolina Panthers right now.
But speaking of that, what do you think of the rumblings that Adam Thielen might be on the trade block? I'm sure we'd all welcome him back, but I mean, as far as what role he'd have or what we'd have to give up to get him, I don't know.
Not for that salary, I'm not. If Carolina's dumb enough to pay for it and give him to us for peanuts, sure. I'm not paying Adam Thielen $13 million to be a wide receiver 3 on this team. Fuck that. Again. No
I'd
way.
be the terrible GM. I'd say trade Addison for Thielen and let's recoup
Carolina would have to eat a good amount of that contract for me to be interested.
Yeah.
Correct. That's the only reason.
Let's recoup like a 2nd or 3rd round pick out of Addison. Let him get a DUI elsewhere.
That would be tough to do with Carolina. I would love that swap, but they don't have any picks as it is because they made the worst trade of all time for Bryce Young. So I heard Adam Schefter said he predicts that Deontay Johnson, is that it? He's going to be out of there. So they'll be sellers. There's a couple things on Twitter. Adam, I haven't checked the Viking Age this week to check, so I don't know if you've written about it, but there are some potential candidates at different positions for the Vikings out there. But like I said earlier, I don't know what this team would give up.
I wrote a bit about the defensive tackle stuff where people were talking about Dexter Lawrence and those kind of guys there in the middle that just probably are not getting moved.
Yeah. Well, that Dexter Lawrence thing was a pipe dream.
And Jeffrey Simmons ain't going anywhere either. So, I mean, we can dream all we want, but those aren't probably happening.
Dexter Lawrence was never happening. The Jeffrey Simmons thing would have been a little more close to reality. That Dexter Lawrence trade was about as likely to happen as that Matt Stafford bullshit that went around for about a week. It's still wild to me. Who benefits from that? They didn't. It's not the Vikings. So now all of a sudden the Rams are just going to be all in on Sam Darnold as the future. Like, I'm sure he'd be great with Sean McVay there, but why did we want a rental of Matt Stafford for 2 years? I don't understand. And
it never made any sense.
That never made sense at all. I don't understand that whatsoever. Fire Breather put it in the chat. He was making fun of the Bears a couple times for that terrible play that resulted in a loss at the end of the game. Can we all take a moment and just smile that the Jets are a fucking dumpster fire and everything that Aaron Rodgers wanted to happen? It's not. They're not going to the playoffs. He's coming back next year. No chance.
There are a bunch of different hot takes that you can listen to about the Jets. They're all entertaining. My favorite comes from Matt Ryan, who went on a rant where he was essentially like, the Jets have pulled every single lever possible on this season, from firing the head coach to big trades for Devontae Adams, and literally nothing has worked for them. And he ends it by saying they should all just be fired after this year. Every single one of them, from Rodgers to whatever, like that. And it all needs to go. And
it isn't very wild though that like Robert Saleh gets fired and then he just says, you know what, I'm gonna go work for the Green Bay Packers. See you later.
While the Jets pay me to work for the Green Bay Packers, which is hilarious. That's even funnier. It's funny that they assembled a team. Andrew says $65 million dead cap this year for the Vikings. For what? What are we talking about here? Give me the player and the context here. I don't know what the $65 million you're talking about is.
The Vikings do have a ton of dead cap this year, whether it's rollover or Kirk Cousins or Daniil Hunter or whoever. I mean, Minnesota does have a ton of dead cap this year. Tomorrow or next year ain't so bad.
Yeah, they're finally 3 years later getting a little bit.
But they got to keep kicking. They got to stop kicking that can.
Yeah, 100%. What were we talking about? I got distracted with
talking about the Jets.
Oh, the Jets and how bad they are. Yeah, I find it hilarious.
I was going to say we were at the receiving stats from the game, but yeah, we're at the Jets.
We're talking crap about the Jets now. Yeah, I just thought it was really funny. They're 2-6, and it's that Office meme. Adam, I thought of you, obviously, with anything with the Office, with Steve Carell when he has the long hair and he's shaking hands. It's like the boss is the Patriots, and it's like Patriots at 2-6, way above any of our expectations for this season. And it's like
I can't believe the Patriots beat the Jets. No, shouldn't have happened.
Steve Carell with long hair, and it said the supposed Jets Super Bowl team that fired their head coach, got Devontae Adams this, and they're 2-6, and they're last in the AFC East. Oh God, it's so funny, man. So I feel bad because
how are we looking at the season at the moment for the Minnesota Vikings? Are we still sort of like thinking this could be a special team, or are we kind of like pulling back on that quite a bit?
I think it's a playoff team. I think a little bit of that. I hate this word because I hear young kids use it now, but aura, fuck, I hate that. It's so overused and stupid. But I feel like the magic that we felt the first 4 weeks of the season is definitely faded. But the good thing, and we'll rely on this, is they overachieved at the beginning of the season when you can kind of steal some wins away from teams that – I don't know if they played the Texans and the 49ers and the Packers again the next 3 weeks. I don't know if they beat all those teams. But they've already beat them once. So
I do think this Vikings team can beat the Titans, so I'm excited for that.
The Titans and the Jaguars, I firmly believe they can beat, and I don't think that they will lose to the Bears. It's a division opponent, so that's annoying. It'll probably be closer than we want, but – you got to steal some wins early. So I do believe it's a playoff team. I think this is a double-digit win team because they're already halfway there.
But so Justin Thomas says he's going to the game on Sunday, and I entered that contest from Dalton Reisner's wife on Instagram, so maybe I'll win tickets and be there too. Who knows?
Nice.
Hopefully.
Secondary really drops us out of special to me. Yeah, these are just looking like a bunch of dudes now. just a bunch of dudes. Like that's
the problem with the secondary is that when you can't get pressure on a quarterback, you're not going to have success in the secondary. And Minnesota could not pressure and disrupt Matt Stafford one bit.
Yeah, and somehow the worst thing that happened to this team was a bye week.
The one thing that every team looks forward to in the middle of the year, and we're like, well, that really threw a wrench in all the fucking momentum we had.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. He said J.J. McCarthy has aura. He also does have that young kid broccoli haircut that I fucking hate. But you know what? It's my quarterback, and I'm not going to shit on him for that because he's a sweet kid. And I see him posting all this motivational stuff on Instagram, and I'm happy that he is invested. He seems like a genuinely nice person. And
I've been arguing with one of my local friends about this. He says, how do you move on from Sam Darnold if the Minnesota Vikings continue winning some games and having a good season? He said, how can J.J. McCarthy be your future if Sam Darnold is that young and can do that with this team? I said, it's because you already invested in J.J. McCarthy and you need to see what he has too. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I like Sam Darnold. I like what he's doing in Minnesota, but if you were to ask me who the quarterback of the future is, right now it's still J.J. McCarthy.
I would tend to agree with you. The only reason I think that it might change, I'm not even saying that I want this to happen, Adam, but I would like to see what situation Sam Darnold is going to be presented with that is currently better, or at the beginning of next season that is better than what the Vikings will offer him.
Now, when you say situation, you mean like teammate-wise, not financially, correct?
Yes. Situation meaning
some team will throw a large amount of money at him if he
situationally being like, hey, come to this team where all we need is a quarterback, Because
I'm sure some team will probably throw $30 million at him. I mean, look at the money some of these quarterbacks are getting. Daniel Jones got $40 million thrown at him, so who knows?
Oh, I think 30s. I don't even think that's an option. I think it's going to be like 35 to start because
Dang.
it's $50 million a year for a guy like Tua and Trevor Lawrence. If I'm looking at Tua, Trevor Lawrence, and Sam Darnold right now, I am running to Sam Darnold and being like, please. And I'm not, and that is a slight at Sam just a little bit based off his previous stuff, but that's kind of to my point. I don't know what situation and team outside of the Vikings would present him a better situation to be in, excluding the contract. You can figure out money later. When you get Jefferson, Addison, Darisaw will be back, Hawkinson. Hopefully they upgrade the line at some point. The defense looks to be okay. What situation is going to be better? And you have to look at the coach too. The coach plays such a pivotal role. I think if he went anywhere else next year, it would probably be with a team that maybe fires someone. Maybe they'll do like an interim year where they're like, all right, let me get a bridge quarterback. I'll pay you for a year or two, blah, blah, blah. That's what's going to be tough on this team coming after, because I'm a big proponent of you don't have to rush anybody to play. Let them sit longer than just throw them out there. But the problem is with J.J. McCarthy, he was forced to sit this year. So now it's like.
So we all agree that Minnesota's fairly set on offensive tackles, right? We're looking at the interior for upgrades. But if you can only upgrade one of those positions, which one are you looking to upgrade?
Center.
I knew immediately he was going to say fire Bradbury. Yeah, anything on the interior line, anything, pick one. I don't care, because all of them I can live. It's one of those like that's the girlfriend you date, and you're like, yeah, she's all right.
I miss Bill Berger.
I'm not in love with any of them.
Yeah, he was solid. He was a solid, reliable.
And he can play any spot on the interior of that offensive line. So good.
Yes. Fire breather. I'm going to highlight this and talk shit to you. J.J. McCarthy wins the national title literally a year later. Yeah, it couldn't be that Jim Harbaugh and half of the team left. I knew you were going to say that.
I don't watch a lot of college football, but I've been watching this year, and boy, that Michigan team is not even close to the same.
How many people did they have drafted last year? It was in the teens, I believe.
It was a lot.
They lost a lot of players. I see what you did there, though.
And Blake Corum looked good too. I mean, he's a very talented running back.
That's true.
There have been a lot of really exciting college football games this year too.
Oh yeah,
more than normal.
A lot of chaos going on, which is really good for that 12-team format they're going to have. I love that.
Yeah. Somehow Iowa State, one of the remaining undefeated teams in college football right now. Don't know how that happened, but we'll take it.
Andrew.
Last night I was watching, or was it last night or the night before? I was watching Kansas and Kansas State, and that game was pretty wild.
Andrew, I'm not a betting man, so I'm not going to actually bet you money, but I would slam down my paycheck. Might get 25, sir. Sir. Tua Tagovailoa is a hit away from being an insurance salesman, and he's making like 55. You gotta up that. That's rookie numbers, man. There's no chance.
Darnold's going to get somewhere between 30 and 35.
Oh, absolutely.
35 might be on the high end, but it depends how desperate a team is to need a quarterback. I still kind of, for him, low-key wonder if maybe the 49ers maybe try to move on from Brock Purdy and, think that they can upgrade and get some stability a little bit with Darnold.
This is going to sound absolutely terrible, but I think the Jets might be drafting a rookie quarterback, and they might want that bridge quarterback to come in and play that role, and Darnold might be there as a Jet.
Oh, again. No chance. No way. He's probably scarred for life there. Oh, that's funny. Oh, man. I was just talking about this with my best friend the other day, too. Huge Pats fan. Shout out to Greg. You're ugly. We're talking about where Bill Belichick might go, and I was thinking
Jets.
You want to go? He hates the Jets.
I know.
He hates them so much. That's we were talking about that.
The Jets need anybody.
Well, yeah, they need something. But I was thinking about, he wants to get the wins record for Tom Landry's the only guy in front of him with more wins. I'm thinking he probably wants to go somewhere where there's a quarterback established that is, something good. Like a Dak Prescott would be perfect for him. Don't think he'll do Dallas because I don't think him and Jerry would want to alter their friendship. They are friends. And I think Bill would tell Jerry to go fuck off real fast.
I think Jerry Jones needs that.
100%.
That's the only way they would ever listen to him. He won't. No.
I thought of Jacksonville because I think Doug Peterson's going to get fired. I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of prospect
Do we lock Jerry Jones in a room with Mike Zimmer and see what happens?
Yes, we do.
So I thought Jacksonville would be cool, and then we said, hey, Bill has ties to the Giants. They'll probably get rid of Daniel Jones, try to start fresh, whatever. And then we both had a moment, and about 2 seconds passed, and we're like, what would be horrible for the entire football world, but they would win a lot of games if Bill Belichick went into Philadelphia and took over that monster squad with that great GM. It was like, hey, I'm going to stay here for 2 years. Let's go win some games.
It's kind of wild to think that all it takes is 1 or 2 people in the front office, and then Daniel Jones can get a 4-year, $160 million contract.
You know what, though? Sometimes the NFL is full of the weirdest possible outcomes for things. And, when you were talking about where would Bill Belichick go, you know what the weirdest possible outcome would be? You know who just got approved of partial owner of the Raiders, right? Tom Brady. What if Tom Brady was like, hey, Bill, come to not Oakland. Where are they now? Vegas? Come to Vegas, coach the Raiders.
That's funny.
Speaking of Vegas, that could be a team that's also in the market for a quarterback in the very near future.
Yep. We discussed that as well on my long drive back from South Carolina yesterday. And Sam Darnold will have suitors next year. It's going to depend on whether he wants to get life-changing money or if he'd like to try to continue winning football games. Because I do think
McCarthy will be the Vikings quarterback next year, and I'm sure they will want to bring Darnold back as being the backup for him, but I don't see that happening. I don't think they can pay a backup $30 million. You just can't.
Right. They paid Gardner Minshew a little bit to play there. Sam's a little better than him, so it wouldn't surprise me. I bet those fans would be sick of that shit, though. They'd be like, can you guys go out and draft somebody young and take a chance, please?
Right.
Yeah. Before we get into the breakdown real quick, we'll talk about the Colts game, and then we'll get out of here. I'll do it now. If you guys can't see our setup here on StreamYard, but if you guys could please go in and like and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the heart button or the like button, please. If you're watching on YouTube, just go in and hit like. Pump our numbers up for that, please.
So for the past month, our show has been number 2, and it's been frustrating these guys so bad.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I want to know, but I don't want to know who we're getting beat out by, because when I see it,
we were number 1 for quite a while, and now we're down to number 2, and it's consistently number 2.
Yeah. So if you guys just hit a like, I'm not even going to make you subscribe today. Just hit a like button on this episode. I can see that somebody else did it now. Mike, appreciate that. Yeah, if you do that, it'll pump our numbers up, and it'll pop up in your algorithm, and other places might see us as well. So we appreciate it. Darnold would do good with McVay. Yeah, I think he would do great there. Depends on if they want to pay him a bunch. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Sean McVay went in there and did that crazy, let me buy a Super Bowl and pay everybody, trade all the assets away. Now, right. I wonder how long, if he's – because once you do it that way and you try to go back and do the traditional way, I feel like it would be a lot harder. But you can't keep going in and saying we're just going to trade assets away for players. Like, how many times is your GM going to let you get away with that?
That, and when you bring in those veteran players, you got to wonder, how much juice do these players have left to squeeze out of them? I think he got the last drops out of Von Miller.
He did. Yeah. And, really, the whole nucleus of that team kind of feels like it was Aaron Donald.
Absolutely.
And with him being gone, I think that took a lot of the juice out of that organization, out of that team. You don't replace that caliber player. That's very difficult to do.
100% agree. Hall of Famer for sure. Got the ring. Had that iconic moment at the end of the game. That was pretty cool. I remember watching that live. So yeah, if you guys didn't hear or remember, this game against the Colts this week got flexed to Sunday Night Football. It will be on NBC. So we get Adam and Kyle's favorite, Chris Collinsworth. I love Chris Collinsworth. I think I'm the only one in America.
I don't mind him these days.
I don't hate him. I can tolerate him.
Good. I'm glad he gets a little love, because we forget that he actually played. He's just got a weird cadence and.
I mean, you can play the "this is a guy drinking" game.
You could. And somebody's brought that up before while he's talked about it on air, which is hilarious.
Have you seen the TV commercial he did where he leans into that?
I have not.
Oh, I gotta send that to you guys. It's real funny.
I'm excited to see that.
He says, "Now here's a guy," about 20 times in the TV commercial.
So as it is right now for the injury report for the Vikings, obviously we talked about Christian Darrisaw. He's on IR. He will be out for the rest of the year. Blake Cashman, Dalton Risner, and Caleb Evans are all questionable. TJ Hawkinson as well. He is expected to play from everything that we've read. Estimated return date for all of those guys would be this game. So it'd be nice to get some of those guys back. For the Colts, cornerback Juju Brents, linebacker Jalen Carleys, and then safety Trevor Denbo are all on IR. Questionable tackle Bernard Raymond and defensive end Jannard Avery. So those guys are expected to come back for this game, but they're questionable right now. It's Monday, so there's a lot of time between now and then. We'll keep you updated. Right now, the over-under for this game is 45.5. Minnesota on Monday.
I gotta ask, can you guys hear my cat's bell ringing as he scratches his neck?
Nope.
Good.
The over-under for this game is 45.5. Right now on Monday, October 28th, Vikings are a 7-point home favorite, which I do not like. It needs to be closer. So we'll see if that changes during the week. We'll see how the betting goes. But yeah, ESPN says we have a 62% chance to win this game. I hope that the Vikings can squeak out a win. They get to 6-2. They'll be right in the thick of the division.
Yeah, they need some momentum. And that's
so Detroit winning and Green Bay winning are not good for Minnesota in the NFC North, but thank goodness the Bears were a donkey this week, so who knows how this will all pan out. I mean, the Vikings are in a bad position right now that they are in the NFC North, because if they were in almost any other division in the NFC, they'd be leading the way.
Yeah. It's a competitive division. Every team in the NFC North got better this offseason, even though we got ridiculed for sticking with Sam Darnold and going into – I don't even want to call it the bargain bin shopping. We did efficient shopping and free agency.
And I'm not sure the Vikings got as exposed as you think, Smith. I do think that they do need – the defense does need to be able to vary things up and change things up and get pressure from different angles.
Yes.
But I also don't think that there's a game plan out there now to beat Flores the way that he coaches. So, I mean, yeah, I think they were taken advantage of, but I don't know if they were, exposed. Like, I don't think there's this game plan to really nullify Minnesota's defense at the moment. Then again, I don't think a team could do much better than the Rams did on Thursday night at making that defense look really pedestrian.
I think that two things can be true. I think you're right, Adam. I don't think – I was over-exaggerating a little bit, but I think in the span of 5 days, a superior team that I think it will win the Super Bowl. I think right now, 8 weeks into the year, Detroit looks like the Super Bowl favorite. Definitely the class of the conference at minimum. They're in your division, which sucks. So good luck even splitting with them now to try to win the division. But in a matter of 5 days, you play them and you play your young coach's protege and best friend in the league. If you've paid attention to any interview that Kevin O'Connell has ever done, and it gets brought up about his time in LA or whatever, he said, we talk frequently. If anybody knows how to figure this team out and knows the tendencies of his former offensive coordinator, it is Sean McVay.
Right.
It's a short week after getting – we should have won that game against Detroit, man. Should have won that game. It's frustrating.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
You come around 5 days later on a short week and you fly across the country. These contexts and variables really do matter, and that's why I have faith in the team, and I'm with you, Adam. I feel a little more optimistic. You have a mini bye for people to get healthy. This will be TJ Hawkinson's comeback game. So there's a lot to look forward to. It's just
the loss to Detroit was frustrating, or it was disappointing. Yeah. The loss to the Rams was frustrating. And now we got to see how Minnesota can bounce back since they've got 10 days to prepare.
This is the convincing part for me. Richardson was 2 of 15 yesterday, Patsy. How do you go forward? That's Deshaun Watson numbers. Like, how do you go forward with that? Especially after God. Speaking
of Deshaun Watson, did you guys see that pregame meeting where he was like where Cam Newton was rallying up the players there?
Why?
He said, we're playing for the names on our jerseys. We're playing for the names on our helmets. He's like, well, our helmets don't have names, but
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston, my bad.
Yeah, Jameis. Jameis Winston's funny, man. He
I
might be
love
the
Jay. I
he
love
might be
Jameis
the
Winston.
smartest dumb person we've ever seen on national television. Because athletes have that typical like jock, stereotype where it's like I'm really good at football, but I'm pretty dumb otherwise.
Yeah,
He
sorry
fits-
about that. I got Cam Newton on the brain today.
He definitely has that stereotype of like big dumb jock, and he just leans into it so much.
I love Jameis Winston. I love the fact that he's getting another opportunity to go out there and play.
They should have
for
played him a
Cleveland.
month sooner, man.
Yeah, you should have been starting.
I told this to one of my other friends. Who shout out to Buttles, man. He's a diehard Cleveland everything. And I said on his Facebook post, you got to cut the toe off to save the foot. I know it sucks, and that's a shitty cap hit. Look what Denver did. The answer's out there. You just got to go draft the quarterback. You got to eat the cap and say, hey, we're done with you. You're not the same. How many more times are you going to trot Deshaun Watson out there hoping that you get like some miracle form of like half of what he used to be? He hasn't been that player for 3.5 years now. Just eat the cap and go get a rookie next year. It's going to suck for 2 years, but that's what a rookie contract's for.
Or draft a rookie and sign someone like Sam Darnold.
But their drafting of a rookie has not gone too well in the past.
Yeah.
I say that, but they moved on from Baker.
That was very stupid of
And
them.
Johnny was just a mistake.
Yeah, it's a very Cleveland pick.
I mean, Cleveland has had their troubles with their quarterback selections. And it isn't a surprise to me that they got the whole Deshaun Watson thing wrong. I was shocked what they were willing to give him, though. That I know a lot of Vikings fans, too, like especially on social media, were like, we need him. He's such a good quarterback. I'm like, no. Just no.
The only thing that changes my mind for that, and we'll get off of here after this, is you have Kevin Stefanski there. You have a legitimate coach there. He will get good assistants, and he's built a good team. They've drafted great players on that team. So, like, Myles Garrett's otherworldly. Nick Chubb is amazing. I don't know why they got rid of Amari Cooper. That was weird. But you got to think about they especially defensively, they always get good corners in there too. Like, you have some good players. I would put faith into that GM and that coach to find a quarterback who's capable. It's just the optics look bad. It's like, well, you can't cut him. We'd have to pay him this much. Denver moved on after like a season and 2 quarters or 3 quarters of a season. Like, hey, Russell Wilson's not working out. Our coach hates him. Get rid of him.
And while we're talking with these wide receiver trades, how did Patrick Mahomes just get such a good weapon? I don't get it.
Oh, DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah. I know he's not in his prime quite anymore, and he's not the player he used to be, but he is still a major target. And the fact that, the Kansas City had so many of their wide receivers dropping, whether they're going on IR or whatever, to be able to bring him in is huge for them. And I hate seeing good teams get good players. It just, ouch.
Can we do that? Can we start a Reddit page or one of those things where you sign and just tell the nation to be like, stop trading good players to Philadelphia and the fucking Chiefs. Stop. I'm tired of Howie Roseman and whatever his name is, Brett Veach over in Kansas City, just getting for a bag of chips. You get DeAndre Hopkins. Stop it. Quit. I hate it so much. That's a good chance. Players take less for the Super Bowl chance. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely past his prime too, though. But that's one of those generational, like, I hate to do it because he played in Houston too, but he just a legendary player like Andre Johnson. DeAndre Hopkins was during his prime, dude.
Right.
Some of the catches that dude made, and then like he had, for me, it was always Hard Knocks when he broke D'Angelo Hall's Achilles or whatever. It's like
bring it back to Minnesota to close the show, though. Minnesota's got one of those guys right now. Every time I watch a Vikings game and I see Justin Jefferson, I'm like, at least once or twice a game, I'm like, how did he catch that?
He's so good. At
least once or twice a game, and it's not even how he catch it. It's like, okay, so he's got the hands, and how did he keep his feet in bounds, or something like that? That man just has such amazing control.
His ability to track a football. You're talking about the catch where he kind of turned his head and he bobbled it and he brings it up.
That's
and
one of them.
To the side of his helmet, and then he still keeps his feet in bounds. Like, that is one of those all-time elite catches that you don't see from a lot of players in the NFL.
funny too.
I
I
do
put it
worry
on.
that Sam Darnold is getting a bit too comfortable throwing to Justin Jefferson, though, because,
Yeah.
like it was said in the chat here, I don't know, quite a bit earlier, there were other players that were more open than him at several occasions in this game, and they did not get the target. And I would like to see him Sam Darnold be able to go through his reads and hit those targets. But again, I don't know if he's got the time or the opportunity, and I hope Minnesota can do that for him and keep him comfortable in the pocket, because I hate the skittish version of Sam Darnold, the one that makes mistakes and throws dangerous passes.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that version of him so far this year in Minnesota, but I don't want that to come back.
I think what happened this game, they said it after the Detroit game. He's like, I'm tired of having these 80 to 90-yard games. Like, I need to get back in the hundreds. I think that was emphasized greatly. I mean, to have him say that is one thing, but then to have that game, I think that was kind of like, hey, we're going to force feed you the ball this game. But you're right. I'm glad we haven't seen the Sam Darnold this year. That's like, I'm seeing ghosts. Like, that guy's not there, which is great.
But is it more important to get Justin Jefferson going or to get Sam Darnold going? That's the question there.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. I want to see him distribute more. I want to see him distribute equally. And hey,
Justin don't think Justin Jefferson needs a whole lot of warm up to be great.
No,
not really. No,
no, he doesn't. And to be honest, that's what keeps the defense on their heels when you've got to worry about it, because the old Bill Belichick motto is like, two guys will be following you all day. Have a good game.
I am really excited to see if TJ Hawkinson in this lineup does make a difference in that respect. If him being out there as a receiving target can force defenses to make things be a little bit different in how they choose to cover Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or whoever. This is no knock on Josh Oliver or Johnny Munt. Those guys are good tight ends, but they aren't the receiving threat that TJ Hawkinson is.
Yeah. Traditional put your hand in the dirt tight end. He'll block, but man, he's such a good receiving threat. He's a big body. Excited to have TJ Hawkinson back. I think that's it.
That's all I got for today.
Let's start plugging away.
As I said on the last show, I am having a really good month over at the Viking Age, and I hope you guys can help me make it just a little bit better. Head over there and click on an article of mine, and I would really appreciate it. I've always got new stuff going up, usually on Sundays and Wednesdays. I got new stuff, and throughout the day on Saturday and Tuesday, I put up new stuff. Sometimes in the middle of the week, too. You never know. Because I do pick up some days on the news desk every once in a while. But even if it's not me, we got some really good, talented writers over there with some really good opinions and interesting ideas to follow the Minnesota Vikings. And if nothing else, Adam Patrick, my co-manager over there, he is definitely willing to put his opinion out there, whether people like it or not.
I always love Adam Patrick. I used to hate him back in the day. I used to hate hard, and I'm like, this dude knows how to get engagement. So
he sure does.
I do. I appreciate the Viking Age a lot. I'm glad that they kept you around and the things. I'll keep saying it for as much as I remember it. This new layout over there is great. Adam, I just click articles and open them up in different windows so you can get some more views.
Almost 11 years I've been there.
Check his.
That's wild to me.
I hope you guys can't hear that, and I hope that's just in my ear. There we go. One of your advertisements popped up there, and it was very loud. Sorry.
It just kind of muted you for a second. I didn't hear anything else, so no worries there.
Okay, I'll take that.
But you can check me out on social media at MNVikingZombie. That's Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever you got. I'm probably there. TikTok. I am on way too many social medias. I should probably narrow that down. But if you want to talk horror movies or professional wrestling, or speaking of professional wrestling, I'm a big fan of the Motor City Machine Guns, and they have been showing up on SmackDown in WWE, and I've been enjoying watching them over there. So, yeah, talk to me about wrestling. Talk to me about football. Talk to me about horror movies. Bad reality shows. I've been watching those, too. So, yeah, let's talk about stuff. Hit me up.
Oh, appropriate time for me to yawn right there. because that's a good plug for my social media.
Were you yawning about how boring my social media is? Is that what that was?
No, about mine, about how boring my social media is. You can follow me at Vaguely Square over on Blue Sky if you want to. You don't have to, but you could.
I like that. You don't have to, but you could.
But that
You
said
should
about
do
Blue
it.
Sky, Blue Sky is getting a huge influx of people over there, especially graphic artists. I was talking to one of my friends about this, and apparently X has been taking photos that have been uploaded to X and feeding them to AI generators, and a lot of the artists and creators that were on X have moved to Blue Sky now.
That's the quickest way to piss off any kind of an artist, photographer, traditional hand drawings or whatever, is that you feed it into that AI algorithm, and we don't like that. Don't train your bullshit on our hard work, because all that does is just copy. You're just copying styles.
Also, if you're bigger over like actual conversation and interaction over likes and retweets or whatever, Blue Sky is a ton more interactive. I mean, you may not get the number of follows or likes or whatever, but you are far more likely to get interaction.
Yeah, but you're getting actual followers as well too, Adam. I think that's the big key difference, is that you're starting to see it a little bit of the accounts that mass follow, 20,000 people with, 300 followers of their own, but there's not a lot of that on that platform yet. So that's nice to avoid.
I didn't think I'd be on here hyping up Blue Sky, but here I am.
Yeah.
Here you go, guys.
Not quite yet. I did go and I had an interview today at the local credit union, so who knows? Fingers crossed.
There you go. I joined the Blue Sky train as well, so you can catch me on Instagram, the Twitter machine, and Blue Sky at NC Dog Dude. Not a lot to talk about. I went to Charleston, South Carolina for a week. I posted my first one on there. Got to visit my very first duty station and got to work back in a very familiar place, so that was fun. But come say hello. I talk a lot of MMA and Viking stuff on Twitter, Instagram.
I can see you uploading a couple more songs than usual lately too, which is nice.
Oh yeah, TikTok as well. My son and I decided to do that old Crossfade song that was really popular because he just loves it, and he said, "I like that song. We should sing it." So
yeah, that's cool.
He likes to grab this little microphone here that's not hooked up and act like he's singing, and it's fun.
How old is he now?
He's 7. And
so have you introduced him to Limp Bizkit? Maybe you could get him to do some Fred Durst.
I have introduced him to a lot of our stuff, Kyle. He likes Creed. He likes the Foo Fighters, Tom Petty, pretty much any of that hard rock from the early 2000s.
Awesome.
I baptize him in that pretty often.
But the question is, does he like Gwar?
I don't know if he's ready for Gwar yet. Funny you mentioned that too, Adam. There's a Gwar burger bar here in Richmond. I think one of the band members is like the founder and the owner. I'm not sure if they bartend or that, but I've been there and it's amazing. It's very awesome.
That's one of those bands where I like their music, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a huge fan. But a part of me still wants to go and see them live just for that show,
Show, yes. Absolutely. It's funny. That's hilarious you mentioned that. It's like, it's not far. It's within walking distance from where I'm at.
You should go tonight.
Not tonight, but I definitely have been, and I will go back again before I leave. It's funny. I'll plug this really quick. Adam and I will find a time, maybe tomorrow. We're going to review Deer Camp 86. We tried to do it last week, but the internet was not having it. So we do.
Yeah, StreamYard was not cooperating with us one bit.
Made me mad. I was like, this platform has never failed us. First time ever. But we're going to talk about Deer Camp 86. We're going to talk about some more horror movies together because it's that time of the year, and I am excited to watch a few new things because I need to watch different movies. I keep watching the same old stuff over and over again, and I got to quit doing that. So check that out coming up on Adam's YouTube page. But that's it.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who joined us in the chat here. We loved the interaction today. You guys are the best. Thanks for tuning in. I know that we've had a lot of shows. What is 580 some now? That's way too many.
Let's go.
What have we been talking about all these years? I don't even know.
Disappointment mostly.
But we'll be back next week and we'll talk about that game against the Indianapolis Colts. And hopefully we will have some fun stuff to talk about on that one. A win would be nice, maybe. Maybe.
I am Rob Burgundy.
But we will be back to talk about that next week. And in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.